The knife I want to share with you this morning is a knife from Blackjack Knives. A little bit of history is due before I get too far into the knife. Blackjack Knives started out back in the 1980s with a fellow by the name of Chris Reeves, a well-known knife maker. Chris was representing different knife manufacturers out of South Africa, and in the mid-1980s he happened to run into a fellow by the name of Mike Stewart at a New York knife show. They got together, and back in '87, Stewart and a fellow by the name of Stephen Lewis formed a company called Blackjack Knives, and their intent was to import the knives from South Africa and sell them in the U.S. They had difficulty starting out. Production ultimately moved over to Japan, where Stewart was producing knives of his own design, I guess we'll say. And there again, they continued to have problems up until about '91. And in 1991, they moved all production to the U.S. Effingham, Illinois was their original base of operations. Since then, they got everything in order. The knife company took off, and Blackjack Knives have really gained some notoriety as being a quality knife. This particular knife is a model 124. This is a knife that I really grew fond of the knife. A couple of things that I like about it. The overall length on the knife is 8 1/4 from tip to butt. Blade 4.5 inch, and that's from the guard to the tip. The actual cutting edge is about 3.5 inches long. So it's what I'd classify as a mid-sized knife. It's not a large hunter. It's also not a small caper. It's a knife that's sized adequately to use on large game, dressing large game, but it's also small enough that I feel that I can comfortably use it in the campsite for anything from preparing meals, possibly cleaning a fish, any camp duties that I might want to take on with it. The knife has a hidden tang. The piece of stag on this particular knife, very nice, very representative of the stag you'll find on the stag-handled knives from Blackjack. The blade is A2 tool steel. It's hardened to around 58 Rockwell. You've got plenty of steel in that back, so you've got a lot of strength, but at the same time, it tapers down to a finer edge that makes it a little nicer for anything from slicing a tomato to a little bit closer trim type work if you're boning out a critter. The one thing that I really like about Blackjack Knives, as well as the line from Bark River that Mike also produces, is the fact that their blades are convex ground. Convex grinding is an old manner of sharpening. Convex has been proven to be sharper and, in my estimation, hold the edge better than some of the flat ground edges. It's very easy once you learn how to use convex sharpening. Usually what I'll do, and in this particular case, the only thing I do to sharpen this knife, I use a leather strap to strap the blade. This knife hasn't had a stone put to it since I bought it over a year ago. The next thing, the handle on the knife is big enough that I have a fairly good sized hand, and I can get my hand around that handle and really feel that I've got full control of it. The other thing is, with the guard, you're not going to slip off the guard, but if you want to do fine detail work in whatever you might be, dressing, skinning, cutting, you can get your finger up on that long ricasso, and my stubby plump fingers fit into that ricasso, allow me to really get down there and control things. Weight on the knife comes in at 6 ounces. It'll vary, of course, according to different handle material, but it's not a particularly heavy knife to carry. Blackjack also puts out a quality leather sheath with their knives, and I like the way the strap comes in on this knife, because when it's snapped in, you don't have any movement at all. That knife is very securely locked in that sheath. So it's something that if you're doing a lot of hiking, climbing, moving around, you don't have to worry about the knife coming loose. It's going to stay put, stay where you attached it, or if it's on your belt. But that's just one of the many knives that Blackjack produces, and as I say, my experience with the line has been very, very good. You're looking for a good outdoor knife, this is one that definitely should be considered.